All right, Israel, we're going to get into these scriptures on Hellidays, and what we're looking for not is necessarily about, Christmas, New Year's, Easter, St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, Labor Day, 4th of July. We got National Hot Dog Day. We got going back to College Day. There's just many days. President's Day, Veterans Day, Columbus Day. They got all kind of days to keep you occupied. All kind of days. And so what we want to know is what the Bible says, and then we're going to pull out the sinister meaning behind a few of these so-called days, what they call holidays, which is trying to take the place of holy days, which they're not. The Most High has given us our holy days, and that's where we're going to start at in Leviticus 23. And Isaac, we're going to start with you today. And start in verse 1. I think we're going to read to verse 5. Actually 7. And then we're going to skip down to, because I don't have this on my list, but this is very important information. We're going to jump down to 24. So start in verse 1.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
So name some of the feasts. We're going to get into them here in a second, but name some of the feasts that you know. Tabernacles. Passover. Huh? Pentecost. Feast of Dedication. Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Unleavened Bread. We said that. Day of Atonement, which is not necessarily a feast, but we'll throw it in there. We just did one. New Moon is a solemn feast day unto Israel. So, in the Word, it tells us what feast days. Have we named anything on the board as of yet? Right? Go ahead.
6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest. A holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
So in just that verse, what day is the day we should go to church? The 7th day, right? Which is what? A holy what? Meaning go to church. Okay, go ahead, verse 4.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in these seasons.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
And the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. And the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So
what are we doing on the first day of that feast? It says it's a what? A holy convocation, right? We're supposed to come together. And we got to get on this, Israel. We may be young, but we're not dumb. So, like I said on the new moon, that Feast of Trumpets is a holy convocation, which we'll read in a minute. We're supposed to come together. So we're going to get together so everybody can hear the broadcast, right? And so that we can be in obedience to these scriptures. But the first day is a holy convocation. Go ahead. Verse 8.
But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. And the seventh day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
So in this Feast of Unleavened Bread, we're supposed to come back. We're supposed to get together on the first day and the seventh day. It's a holy convocation unto the Most High. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Drop down to 24.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation.
Okay, so what's coming up next new moon? Blowing of the trumpets. And what are we supposed to do? Come together and have a holy convocation. What date is that on? The 29th of August? And what day does that happen to be on? It's a Thursday. So we're going to get together that Thursday somewhere in one of these fire stations, Lord willing. And we're going to have this convocation. As all the new moons are supposed to be a convocation, but this is also the new moon, and it's the annual blowing of the trumpets. And we'll do a lesson on that so we'll understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. The Most High doesn't want us to be ignorant. Go ahead.
Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
So we're not supposed to be working in that day. And it starts at what time? In evening. Thank you. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
So 10 days later, we're getting together for the Day of Atonement. Last year we did baptisms, because that's a day of repenting. It's supposed to be, well, under the Old Covenant, it was a day of fasting. Right? So fasting is tied to the Levitical priesthood. You'll read in Leviticus 16 if you want to look at it. And the Levitical priesthood is in no longer. We're under the order of who? Melchizedek, which is under Christ's order, under the blood and wine. So we're not necessarily fasting on that day, but we are observing it. So we're supposed to have another holy convocation, which means we get together again. We're going to get to see each other alive. Right? Y'all not too excited. Go ahead.
And ye shall do no work in that same day.
So there's no work on that day either. So, see, if y'all look at how the Most High system is set up according to the world system, we get a lot of days off where we're not supposed to be working. At least once a month, for one with the new moon. Then in this particular month, in the 7th month, we got the Day of Atonement. There's not supposed to be no work done in that day again. So if you're like my job, we have to take off well in advance in order to get those days. Because we're not supposed to be working in these days. Go ahead.
For it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your
If
God.
you don't know what atonement means, it's a day of repenting. This is when Israel had to repent for their sins once a year. Go ahead.
For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
Go ahead.
And whatsoever soul it be that day, it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people.
Oh dear. Exactly. Get destroyed for doing work in that day. Go ahead.
Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings.
So how long is generations? What does forever mean? Right? This is a statute, a law, a commandment. And we got to line up to them, Israel. We can't just blow them off because, we get paid. We have got to start lining up with the Scripture. That's how the Most High knows you fear Him, because you're doing what He says. You're not making excuses. Because then you're just like where we came from, the Sunday church, and what we say, well, the Lord knows my heart. But we made no effort to go into these jobs and take off. And thinking we good because we keep the Sabbath. He says we got to be careful to do all His word. Go ahead.
It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. And the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. So
it's a Sabbath, says. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto the Lord.
So now we're at the Feast of Tabernacles. I don't see none of that on the board. I know we could have wrote them up there, because we got some knowledge. But this is where we come from. We don't see anything about, we don't see no tabernacles. We don't see no Day of Atonement. We don't see Feast of Trumpets. We don't see none of that up there. Because the world is doing all of this, we're like, okay, well, let's do the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. We don't want to be set apart. We don't want to be holy. So on the 15th day of this month, it says, the 7th month shall be a Feast of Tabernacles for the 7th day of the Lord. Go ahead, 35.
On the 1st day shall be a holy convocation.
So I get to see Donald and Ronald again. We get together on the 1st day, on the 9th day, now on the 15th day. All in the 7th month. Right? Go ahead.
Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you.
So on the 8th day, we're getting together again. Now, y'all, who do I see? I don't know who said it. Where's that? Family. Right? Everybody loves to get together with their family, so they say. Till that argument breaks out. And the fight. Right? Then when you got some knowledge of what you're supposed to be eating or not, then you got to deal with that. But when everybody's on one accord according to the Scriptures, we can get together with our church family and be on one accord. We ain't got to worry about nobody bringing no ham hocks in the greens to the feast. Right? We're not worried about none of that. I should be able to go over to each person, and all of us should be able to go to each person that's sitting in this room and totally be okay with the menu. All right, friends reading packages. Oh, man, these are chicken sausages, but they got pork wrappings. So she puts those back on the shelf. We're not being ignorant in what we're doing. Go ahead.
And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein.
So no work in that day. Go ahead.
These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and a and drink offerings, even everything upon his day.
Go ahead.
Beside the Sabbath of the Lord, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord.
Go ahead.
Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
So he reiterates. He's very clear in how we're supposed to keep the feast. What they call holidays. And this is what we have to have our mind renewed to, because we're more prone to keep this stuff because they might throw us a day off in there. Or the family comes together on this day. Oh, I love them Sunday dinners. Breaking all of God's commandments. First of all, we're not on the Sabbath. Second of all, we probably run into the grocery store. Third of all, we're probably cooking. And then fourth of all, we got some abominable foods. And we talking about let's pray. Right? So let's get into our lesson. Ronald, let's go over to Deuteronomy 12. Talk about these Hellidays. Deuteronomy 12, verses 1 through 3.
Deuteronomy 12, verse 1 through 3. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land, which the Lord God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it all, all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nation which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills, and under every green tree.
Okay, so where we at? Geographically, where we at? Where we at now? America, right. And what does America celebrate? All of this stuff up here. And whether we know it or not, these are geared towards their gods. Even their days of the week. I remember Thor, which is Thursday. Let's see if we got something on the board. We're going to get into birthdays here in a minute. But all of this stuff, if you research Thanksgiving, that's about killing the Indians. And how many of us got some Native American in us? And we sitting up there with a turkey and some dressing and some cranberry sauce, celebrating the destruction of our people. And what do we look like to people that know? Exactly. We look downright foolish. So we got to know, like the woman at the well. Most High, or Son, told her, we know what we worship. You worship what you do not know. And that's the difference. We gotta know why we're worshiping things and why not to worship things. So it says in 3 verse 2 again.
Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree.
So everywhere in this nation that's doing things against the Most High's word, should we be participating or destroying? So that comes even in with doctrine, right? They come in with that Sunday drop doctrine. For instance, Christ came to do away with the law? Are you supposed to just sit back and say, okay? Or are you supposed to destroy it? They coming in talking about Sunday church this and we learned this. Are you supposed to sit back and say, yeah, okay, that's good. I'm glad you learned this. Oh, that's true. The Bible does say this. You know it's all out of context. So the scripture says in verse 2 that you are supposed to destroy this stuff. We're not sitting back just saying, okay, and watching our loved ones march on into the lake of fire. We got to understand with this truth, we have a responsibility. And if you're not taking this responsibility seriously, shame on you and shame on me. Because it's not okay. We're supposed to be destroying this. Verse 3.
Verse 3, chapter 12. And ye shall overthrow their altars, and break their pillars, and burn their groves with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and destroy the names of them out of that place.
So say we got blessed with a building, right? They just gave us some free rent. Said, come on into this building. You just pay the utilities. But they got a big old cross on the wall. What are we supposed to do?
Destroy it. Take it down.
Take it down. Destroy it. Exactly. They got one sitting outside. And it's a hard thing to do, right? Because we came out of that. What we thought was true. But now that our minds are being renewed, then we're saying we agree with the Most High. We fear His Word more than we fear man. And there might be some people out in the neighborhood watching you take these crosses down and will never come. So I guess you can go take them down in the midnight hour where can't nobody see. If you're truly worried about it. But it says we're supposed to destroy all of this stuff. So once you learn the truth about Christmas, for instance, are you supposed to uphold it? Receive gifts? Get together with family? Because that's what their mind is saying. It's about getting together with family. Oh, Thanksgiving. It's about getting together with family. And as hard as you may try to say, okay, we're going to do it all in and we're going to do a 180 on them and we're going to flip it around and say, we're going to tell them the truth about this day. On this day. First of all, they're going to look at you as like, hey, you're here. You're participating. And you're going to catch all kind of hell. Whether it be that day or down the road. Well, you were there. You were participating just as well as we were. So sometimes you got to do a silent protest and not be there. And not just sometimes, all the time. Once you understand the truth about things. Because we're supposed to take this stuff down. Destroy it. You're only helping the person. Or yourself. Because he says, the ones that do his commandments are the one with understanding. So when the next holiday come up and you don't participate, you get stronger in the word. The Most High gives you more understanding. Every time we're obedient to His word against this system, He strengthens us. Or we're going to worship man. Keep going around and we're going to go over 2 Kings. Don't mess with my holidays. There's nothing wrong with Christmas. We get good deals. Second Kings chapter 10, and start in verse 18. And it's talking about Jehu, who, by the Most High's orders, got rid of Jezebel, an unrighteous queen, married to an unrighteous king called, what was his name? Ahab. 2 Kings, chapter 10, starting verse 18.
Verse 18, and Jehu gathered all the people together and said unto him, Ahab served
Baal
Baal a little, but Jehu shall serve him much.
So, Jehu is a prophet of the Most High. And so, he's going to talk to Ahab, which was the king of Israel, the northern kingdom at this time, who served Baal. Baal is the devil, also known as Molech. What's some other names? Baal, Molech. There's one other one that I can't think of, but it's Satan the devil is who he's following. Anything that's in the idolatry is what the devil partakes into us. He wants to fulfill your every want and desire. Every want and desire that's going to fulfill your flesh, not your spirit. Verse 19.
Now therefore call unto me all the prophets of Baal, and his servants and all his priests. Let none be wanting, for I have a great sacrifice to do with Baal. Whosoever shall be wanting, he shall not live.
Now when we were reading all of those feast days, we had to do sacrifices back then. So if you look at Ahab, who is he doing sacrifices to? Right, he's worshiping the devil. And this is what we do when we're celebrating all of this stuff on this board. Because none of this you can read in the Bible. This makes us feel good. Oh, I just want to be with my family. It sounds good. And you may even mean it. But is it commanded by the Most High? In that context, no. You might get more money on some days. While we're celebrating presidents where they never did anything for our people. Nothing. Anything that they done was ordained by the Most High. He said the chains wouldn't come off until we were destroyed. And we are destroyed up here. Because we don't care who we are. We don't care that we are the true children of Israel as a nation of people. We don't care about none of that. We're destroyed in our thoughts. So you can think Abraham Lincoln set you free when he didn't. It was just that you was destroyed. And only the people that's going to make it back to him is going to be saved. Those that endure to the end. That caught on to this truth. Like, this is the way I'm supposed to be doing this. Go ahead.
But Jehu did it in subtlety, to the intent that he might destroy the worshippers of Baal.
So he was trying to destroy them, because that's what we're commanded to do, right? Go ahead.
Verse 20. And Jehu said, proclaim a solemn assembly for Baal, and they proclaimed it.
And you're thinking like, okay, we're reading like he does this, but if you're a righteous man, we're going to go ahead and see what he's doing here. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that came not. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was full from one end to another.
So Sunday worship is not the right way to doing it. Who they worshiping over there? And are them churches filled?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. Somebody's tracking their way. It might not be every church that's full, because, but the mega churches, what are they? About 5,000 strong. You take away the mega churches, they'll be back in the local churches. Strong. So they're all full. Because they're all worshiping the wrong thing. And this is where you can see, even in the truth, you see different camps with a whole bunch of people. It's because they don't have to change according to the apostles' doctrine. We have to change who we are if we want to make this kingdom. You don't want to repent, you ain't going to make the kingdom. You don't want to be baptized, you're not going to make the kingdom. You're not full with the Holy Spirit that's going to help you walk this walk, guess what? You're not going to make the kingdom. You can quote all the scriptures you want to. You can wear your fringes with blue border. You can have your head wrapped. You can wear your skirts. But if you're the same old person, just in a costume, guess what? You're not going to make the kingdom. Because you didn't want to destroy the bad doctrine in you. I can't be a gluttonous person. I can't eat everything I want. In excess. I can't just drink all the liquor in the world. I got to do it in moderation. I got to keep my eyes off of other women. I can't be lusting after them. I got to do that. Same thing for the women. I gotta be respectful to my own husband. If you can't do that, guess what? You're not making the kingdom. So these Hellidays, they move us out of the realm of what the Most High is calling us to do. Go ahead.
Verse 22. And he said unto him that was over the vestry. What's vestry? Ministry or something?
Let's look it up. Pull it up on your phone, please.
In charge of the wardrobe.
That's right, in charge of the wardrobes. That's exactly right. Because guess what? It's in my notes right here. Thank you, Granny. What do they do on Sunday? And not only that, they dress up. If you know the outfits, it's in what I want to say denomination, but where do they get the collar? And then the purple shirts with the cross going in there in their pocket, which never made sense to me. Why would they hide the cross? But that's Catholicism, Roman Catholic stuff. So this is what they did. They dressed up. How many times did we have to? Don't we got that up somewhere? Somebody said new clothes. Yeah, their vestry. They had to have all of that to the T. Socks, Stacey Adams, nice belt, 3-piece suit. Right? Go ahead.
And he said unto him that was over the vestry, bring forth vestments for all the worshippers of Baal. And he brought them forth vestments.
Now, doesn't that look like, again, nothing else but Sunday church? You had to put on, what's that show? Sundays what? Better not go out them house with no stockings on, lady. You don't read that in the scriptures, but you better not go out without no stockings on. What verse we in?
23.
Go ahead.
And Jehu went, and Jonah, the son of Rechab, into the house of Baal, and said unto the worshippers of Baal, search and look that there will be here with you none of the servants of the Lord, but the worshippers of Baal.
That's all that's in there. Once you know the truth. Now we're sitting on the outside looking at the truth of the scriptures, and now we can see like, man, you don't find Sunday church. Who made up Sunday church? You start investigating this man. This man was led by Satan. That's who he worshiped. He changed the day of worship. and the whole world went with it. So their worship can't be geared to the Most High, because He says His day is when? The seventh day, which is holy unto the Most High. This what makes it wrong. Somebody wrote Sunday church up there. Well, Sunday dinner, but you put that's after church. This is what makes it wrong. This is what gears it to the wrong place. A lot of people don't like you talking about Sunday church. It's a soft spot. I get all of that. But guess what? If we don't tear down the doctrine, then we're not being obedient to the Most High. And we're watching them worship Satan in the name of Jesus. Go ahead.
Verse
24.
And they went in, and when they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings, Jehu appointed 80 men without, and said, if any of the men whom I have brought unto your hands escape, he that letteth him go, his life shall be for the life of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them, what is it?
Mm-hmm. 25.
25. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, that Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, go in, and slay them, and let none come forth. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and the guard and the captains cast them out, and went to the city of the house of Baal.
So is he keeping the law, which is Deuteronomy verse 2? 12 verse 2?
See what?
Keeping the law.
No.
They said we're supposed to destroy them. You understand what he's doing? What did the law say? What is the 7 things the Lord hates? A man who murders in cold blood, right? Without a reason. He's being obedient to what the Most High said. I ain't telling y'all to go into church and start killing people, but you start killing this doctrine. This is what Jehu is doing. They all came to worship Baal. 26.
And they brought forth the images of the house of Baal and burned them.
Oh, so not that the Ku Klux Klan is ever right, but they burned them crosses, right? Burning up the images of white Jesus. Should white Jesus be in your house?
No.
Should black Jesus be in your house?
No.
He gave us no similitude. So we got to know where the differences in the word is. And so that we can make sure that we're being obedient. But they burned down all the images of Baal. And so we got to understand what's a Baal and what's not. Don't be going to burn up the scriptures. Because if you read it in its proper context, it's true. It's telling you what's right and what's wrong. Because they use the Holy Bible too, don't they? You got to be awake in this thing. You can't be asleep. What verse we in?
27.
Go ahead.
And they break down the image of Baal, and break down the house of Baal, and made it a drought house unto this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel.
And that was it. That's where we want to go to. So everything that comes with Baal worship, you start searching. Go look up the origin of these so-called holidays. In the midst of all of those, we probably got Christmas up there. If not, it should be. There's Christmas, and we got New Year's, We thinking no big deal. Labor Day, Memorial Day, oh, we remember dead folks. We got Easter, supposed to be Resurrection Day. But guess what else is on the list? Halloween. And we just throw them all in there together. And what kicks off the so-called holiday season? Who? No. Huh? Halloween. That's what kicks off what they call the holiday season. So you got Halloween, you got some Veterans Day in between there, then you got Thanksgiving, then you got the big one, so-called Christmas, when Satan Claus come down the chimney. White man giving y'all gifts. And we taught our, then we got a black Santa. And his name, you rearrange the letters, you got Satan. Hellidays. Now you in the truth. This is what makes it Hellidays. Now you're in the truth, and you're not coming to certain events. You catch all hell. You show up at them certain events, and you're not eating certain things. You catch all hell. They want to give you their doctrine, but we're not shunning. Like we learned over, we read one of them scriptures. We're supposed to be shunning all that bad stuff. We're not shunning, we're just sitting back taking it. Oh, I don't want to dispute. I don't want to get into conflict, confrontation. But why are you going over there celebrating with these people? You don't want to compete for their souls, so you're going to go party with them all the way to hell. And then in your own flesh, you're thinking, I'm going to make it. They might not, but I'm going to make it. Because over here, in my real life, I keep the Sabbath. I don't eat pork. But over here, I'm going to go celebrate with my Sunday church friends. I'm not going to get into confrontation with them. I'm not going to study this word to show myself approved so I can hopefully get my friend, so-called friend, out of the lies that they're in. I'm not going to separate myself from these so-called friends and family on these so-called holidays. Because it's about being with family. And I love my family. You don't love them that much. Because you're sitting back watching them go to the hockey sticks. And guess what? Due to that attitude, you're going to be right there, and I'm going to be right there with them. So guess what? When you don't go, at least you got a ballpark chance in telling them why you didn't come. Hey, why ain't you celebrating Christmas? Well, let's go over here to Jeremiah chapter 10. You got a chance, but if you go show up thinking you're going to be holier than thou and tell them, it ain't going to work. Because you're going to get overwhelmed by all them spirits in the room. We don't fight against flesh and blood, Israel, but in principalities in high places. So all them spirits, they all conjured up. They all in agreement. And you think you're going to go in there with you, yourself and you, and get it done. All right, Jason, let's go back to Deuteronomy 12. Let's start in verse 1 again.
Deuteronomy 12, starting in verse 1. These are the statutes and judgments which ye Lord observe to do in the land, which the Lord of thy God, thy fathers, giveth thee to possess it, all the days that ye live upon the earth. ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree. And ye shall overthrow their altars and break their pillars and burn their groves with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the name of them out of that place.
So that's what Jehu was doing, following this commandment. Let's drop down to 29.
Verse 29. When the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them and dwellest in their land. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them.
Stop. Take heed, pay attention to your own self, that thou not be snared by Christmas, birthdays, President's Day, in the spirit of togetherness, family, Halloween. These things snare you if it's against the word of the Most High. We would love if all of our family was in the truth. I promise you, I would love it. It'd be oh happy day. It'd be more people on this conference line than what we can count. It'd be more people, and we wouldn't be able to fit in this little fire station. If our family came into the truth, there'd be more people on this panel getting into these scriptures, searching them daily like we're commanded to do. We would love it, but it's just not that way. That's why it's so important to train a child in the way they should go. Because it's hard changing the minds. And hopefully the Most High gets in there, because He knows the heart of man. Go ahead.
30. Take heed to thyself that thou not be ensnared to follow them, after that they are destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise.
Question, will you do likewise? When you find out who these gods that they're serving, go look up Valentine's Day and find out what Cupid's all about. It's a pedophile. And they put him in a little diaper and shooting an arrow, talking about he's connecting people together, but he likes little boys. The truth about it, he likes little boys. But we're celebrating Valentine's Day. It's about love. It's about flowers. Then you can put the woman into idolatry. Because when it boils down to it, man, has Valentine's ever been about men? Nope. So now the woman's all lifted up. And she's out of place. And the Most High got to destroy her too. Because she's participating in idolatry. Isaac. Wisdom of Solomon. Did you read 32? Read verse 32.
Okay. Just 32.
That's the last verse. Unless I'm in the wrong. Yeah, Deuteronomy.
And 31.
Oh, read 31 then, I'm sorry.
Thou shalt not do so unto Jehovah thy God for every abomination to Jehovah, which he hated, have they done unto their gods, and for even their sons and their daughters do they burn in the fire to their gods.
Meaning they teach their children to worship these other gods. We do it through Christmas. Well, I know it ain't Christ's birthday for real. But Jesus is the reason for the season. The 3 wise men. Verse 32.
What things soever I command you, that ye shall observe to do, thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it.
That's right. So he's telling us to destroy this stuff. And in our day and time, destroy the doctrine. Forget about the feelings. I'm going to hurt their feelings. You know, they put a lot into their birthdays. It's a big day of the year. But you don't want to tell them, hey, you participate in idolatry. You putting yourself up above the word. You celebrating you. It's my day. It's about me. Yeah, and there you go. Put yourself on a pedestal and thinking it's okay. All right, Isaac, let's go to Wisdom Solomon 12.
Chapter
12. It started in verse 1.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12, verse 1. For thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. Therefore, chasten. Chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on thee, O Lord.
So each week we go over different topics. Sometimes it's a broad, like this is a broad thing about Hellidays. It might be personal because of the way you may look at them. But some subjects like, work out your own salvation, that's about you, right? This is more of an open thing. So we break things down little by little. We don't want to give it all to you because first thing people are going to say is, well, what can we do? We can't do nothing in the world. Your flesh is going to be all in the way. But as you get understanding of why, then you start to be obedient. Then you get a little more understanding of why, then you start to be a lot more obedient. And that's just the way the system goes. So he's breaking us down little by little that we offend and warns them by putting them in remembrance. Hey, man, I know you may have forgot, but I know it's your birthday. I'm sorry you feel like I should acknowledge it, but this is idolatry, and I can't put you above the Most High. Just can't do it. I know you love Christmas, and you know your sweet potato pies are good. Your pecan pies are the business, but why can't you just give me one on December 5th? Why can't you bring them more so to the feast day? Granny, make your pizza cow on the next feast day. You just got to make one. I'm just saying. It's okay to bring what's lawful to the feast day, but we can't. We only made it for Christmas. Nicole used to only make caramel corn for Christmas. Can we get some? Well, I ain't supposed to have it, but you know what I'm saying. Go ahead.
For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of the Holy Land.
Didn't he say go in and destroy this stuff? We read it in Deuteronomy. Go ahead.
Whom thou hatest, for doing most
odious
works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices.
And this is what he calls witchcraft, because they were doing witchcraft because they was worshiping who? Baal. The devil. Go ahead.
And also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh and the feasts of blood.
And what we don't understand, a lot of this stuff has to do with sacrificing. And what they do, Baal them, they sacrifice kids. What we don't understand is they're still doing it. These kids is being separated at the border are becoming sacrifices. When Haiti had their earthquake, they ran in there and got the children out, not saving them, they're sacrificing them. When we was growing up, what did we have on the milk box? A missing kid. That child was more than likely sacrificed. They haven't changed their ways. We just don't believe it. Because they done brainwashed us to believe that, every human is just nice and kind and wonderful by nature, and they're willing to do the right thing. But that's not the truth, Israel. They're following their God. And as we're following our God, as we're doing now, following the truth, guess what? They're following what they think is the truth. And if he says sacrifice a kid, well, we need to have our kids accountable, be accountable. I need to know where you at. I need to know what time you leaving, what time you plan to come home, and who you going to be hanging with. Because kid worship has not, or sacrifice has not been done away with. And it won't be done away with until Christ comes back. So we got to understand the world, whether we believe it or not, and this scripture is true, it is still working the same way the scripture says. Read that verse again.
And also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh and the feasts of blood.
Go ahead.
With their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands, souls destitute of help.
Now, we could never imagine, but say in the last 15 years, how many women have been killing their kids? Let's go back to the one first and most famous case that I know of, the Ramsey chick. Then we had this black lady not too long ago who killed her kids, and she eventually killed herself. So did that Ramsey chick. She killed herself too. The black lady? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Was that the one that drove the car into? Yeah. No.
Men doing it too.
I'm sure.
What about the guy that killed his wife when she was pregnant and the two girls and stuck them in oil?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was behind adultery, though. Because he was messing around with another chick and wanted to have a life with her. Yep. But he knew he couldn't.
Oh, I didn't know the why. I just couldn't believe he could do that.
Yeah, he did it. That's how Satan blinds you. It was going to be easier to go put his daughters in these oil tankers, kill the pregnant wife, bury her somewhere, like wasn't nobody, and then get on the news. You see him on the news? I just want my wife back. I know we had a little conversation, argument, but if you're out there, he wasn't believable to nobody. Go ahead.
That the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of God's children. Nevertheless, even though thou sparedest as men, and didst send wasps, forerunners of thine host, to destroy them by little and little.
Now let's go over to first Maccabees. And this is what the Canaanites was doing in our land, worshiping their gods, the so-called Hamites. That's why you got to understand why we don't go under African American. They followed other gods, Baal, devil worshippers, and that's what they did. Now we're going to go learn about the Greeks, the Edomites. First Maccabees, and Ronald, you there? First Maccabees chapter 1 and drop down to 41. Antiochus. Go ahead.
Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
Now this is not an Israelite king. He's a Greek king when the Roman Empire is running the earth, which is still in charge of the earth. He wrote to his people. "42.
And everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king."
So all the other nations, what heathen means, nation of people, they all agree. Now, what's the problem with that? He's telling us, oh, we're going to leave. Somebody walking in the door right now, the law is y'all cannot meet on the Sabbath day no more. That's the problem, ain't it? Or guess what? It's the National Day of Pork. You got to have at least a sliver of bacon on this day. It's the National Day of Adultery. Oh, it's all profound now, huh? Well, it's the National Day of Adultery. Let's get even worse. It's the National Day of Grandmother's Make Love Day. Isn't that gross? Yeah, I made that up. I'm just saying, but they come out, they said we're supposed to leave our laws. Our law says we're not to commit adultery. Our law says we're not to, my granny's single, right? So she's not supposed to be what? And none of us. F word. Fornicating. Right? We're not supposed to be doing that type of stuff. Go ahead.
And everyone should leave his laws. All the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Oh, see? What's going on now? Israelites as a nation of people. What day they go to church on? First day of the week, Sunday, and they're profaning what? The Sabbath. The scriptures are true. Go ahead.
Verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
What makes them strange is they're not the Most High's laws. Now, when we read Leviticus 23 in the start, did we read any of that? But yet we're keeping them. Or used to. Go ahead.
Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Exactly. So now he was getting rid of the feast days in Deuteronomy or Leviticus 23. He wanted us to get away with it. This is how you know this is all the devil being in charge of this. Because why would somebody even care what days you celebrate or what day you worship? But it's telling them, get rid of all those Sabbaths. Get rid of the profane Sabbaths and the feast days. And then how often back in the Old Covenant did they do sacrifices in the temple? How often? You said it 3 weeks ago. 3 months ago. They did daily sacrifices, though. So he was getting rid of all of that. He didn't want us worshiping the true and living God, the Most High God. They wanted to go worship their gods. And that's the same thing we do. Even the God of money. What do they got on the money? On the dollar bill? In what? In God we trust. With the all-seeing eye. You go research the all-seeing eye. Whose eye is it supposed to be? Okay, I'll tell you, the devil. So, if they're worshiping in their God and on their money, who are they worshiping? So, that's why we can't do things for money. We use it for what it's good for. Paying our bills, getting food, paying our taxes. But as far as worshiping it, I'm going to structure my whole life around a dollar bill. That's the root of the devil. What verse you in?
46.
Go ahead.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy temple and holy people.
We're going to get into that later, but they polluted our sanctuary. Go ahead.
47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
So we was sacrificing lambs and goats. They put on the altar pigs, swine. Now, why would they choose pig swine? It was an abomination of desolation. That's when it really happened. They got it in the Sunday church. They think we're still looking for the abomination of desolation. It's already happened. They put this swine's flesh on the altar in our temple. Devil worship. Because man, don't think of this crap alone. We're going to go get some pig's flesh and we're going to make sure. It's just like somebody being evil and they know you keep the commandments and the dietary laws and they try to purposely feed you some greens with some ham hocks. They might even lie to you. That's why you got to know that person. Do y'all eat pork? Oh, well, I ain't going to touch these greens. I'm sorry. Sorry if it offends you, but you might have decided to do the switcheroo.
You're some who respect it.
Say again?
Well, I was just thinking because my buddy Ranger, he made some greens and we don't eat pork. He usually puts pork in it. So instead of putting pork and sending it over to us, he put turkey in. So he respected us.
And that's cool, but he needs to respect the Most High.
I got that.
Yeah. And not eat it himself. Verse 48.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
So he didn't even want them circumcising their kids, which is under the law. So this person is anti-Christ, right? He is totally against the scriptures. Circumcision is of the law. On the 8th day, we're commanded to be circumcised. Now they're like, no, you can't. Not only are we going to profane your temple, we're going to ask you, not ask you, but mandate that you leave the Sabbath, quit doing all the feast days. But now you're not going to be able to circumcise your kid. Go ahead.
Verse 49. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
Now, is that where we are now? Ain't nobody thinking about no law. You mentioned the law. It's done away with. Christ nailed it to the cross. And we got to be bold enough to say, where did you read that? Let's get some understanding there. I understand what you was taught. You got to realize we should be experts on Christianity. We grew up in it. I don't know if y'all noticed the little Fred Sanford post today, but Christianity is the main reason we celebrate all of these holidays. They incorporated. It's paganism in the church, in the Sunday church. So this is why they incorporate everything. You tell them you couldn't come to church because you had to work. All praises. They happy. You pay your tithes though, right? Because they worshiping who? That dollar. 3 and 4 services behind the dollar in one day. Every auxiliary you a part of got dues. The Brotherhood, they got dues. The Mass Choir, they got dues. The male chorus, they got dues. Now Brotherhood, for some reason, is broken up from the deacon board. They got dues. So if you're a part of all of those, look at all them dues you got to pay. Then you got your Sunday tithes and offerings. And you wonder why you can't buy nothing in your own life. So they keep you busy. Verse 50.
And whosoever would not do it according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Oh, man. Well, they going to kill me. We got to get a backbone in this truth. It may come to the point where they may threaten your life. Wives, y'all should be on the other end, fighting for them. But hey, don't you compromise. I need to see you in the resurrection on the good side of the kingdom. Don't do it. We gotta be strong in our faith. Second Maccabees. We're back on Jason. Second Maccabees, chapter 6. And start in verse 1.
Second Maccabees chapter 6, starting in verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God.
See? They point blank in it. We're going to command the things. This is what the Greeks do. Now, how many gods do the Greeks have? They got Zeus. They got Thor. Who knows some other ones? What's that ugly chick with the spiders in her head? I mean, with the snakes. Medusa. What else? Athena. Aphrodite. Poseidon. Look at all these guys they got. Now, when you think of Greek, think of Roman Catholic. What they got? What the Roman Catholics got? What's that dude that wear the white robe? The Pope. Then they got the Black Pope. He wears all black. Look all of these people up. This is what the Roman Greek Empire is all about. What all our churches is all about. They follow after this Roman Catholicism. Now, what did this read verse 1 again?
Not long after the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God.
This is what they're promoting. They priests don't have wives. He told us to be fruitful and multiply. They raping little kids. We're not, first of all, not to be laying with a man as we lay with a woman. They promote Sunday law or Sunday church. Depart. Verse 2.
And to and to pollute also the temple of Jerusalem, and to call the temple of Jupiter Olympus.
Oh, there's another one of their gods, Jupiter. Go ahead.
And that in Garthim, of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, and they did desire that dwelt in the place.
Where did they get the? What do they call them games? Where they run around the track. The mecca of it is what? The Olympics. You just said the Olympics. This is where all this stuff comes from. And what are the women looking like? Running around the track in what? Some panties. We call it their tracksuit and attire. And the men walking around with their bulge and their little spandex. The wrestlers is in the little tight suits too. Verse 3.
The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles who do
Dolly.
And harlots, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy place, and besides, that brought the things that were not lawful.
So they was doing all of this in the temple. Sorry to say, but the word on the streets, them church women, them church girls, y'all can fill in the rest. But them church women, they'd drop it just as quick. Somebody on the streets. Go ahead.
Verse 5. The altar was filled with profane things which the law forbidden.
Which we saw. They put that pork swine on there for one. Go ahead.
6. Neither was it lawful for man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So you're a Jew. So you couldn't even tell the people who you are. Why do you think Israel don't know who they are anymore? They think they're the Israelis over there. Those are the true people. Not the Israelites that the Bible talks about. We don't remember who we are because we started following all of this. And by the time we came along, we were deeply entrenched in all of this. Hellidays. Go ahead.
7. And in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraints to eat of the sacrifices. And when their feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
So we got these Ivy League schools. This is where all this comes from. Yale and Harvard and all of that. They keeping the Feast of Bacchus. Go look that feast up. But this king is celebrating what? His birthday. And we're going to get into birthdays here in a second. Israel didn't keep birthdays. All the other nations, that's what they do. They lift themselves up on their day and commit idolatry. Go ahead, verse 8.
Moreover, there went to a decree to the neighbors, to the neighbor cities of the heathen, by the suggestion of the
Ptolemy,
against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
So they started worshiping the same way. Go ahead.
And whoso would not conform themselves to this manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present vision.
And we be thinking like, man, because we fear death. We fear death more than hell. Because this is what we see. You see the little funerals going down the street. Don't break the line. All these rituals. Don't break the procession. You know, you see the person getting lowered to the ground, and you never see them come back. The Bible says they just sleep.
Yes.
Right? But we think it's just done and over with. That's it. So we fear that more than hell. Not knowing that, you know, let's say Uncle Richard, right? Gone in the grave sleep right now. But the Most High is going to wake him up. And he'll be judged at that time. And those who know Uncle Richard, which is probably only like 3 of us, but we should be praying for him because from what I know, he didn't know the law, but I was one of his favorites. So I'll pray for him that Most High has mercy on him, that he'll make the kingdom as well. That's what we should be doing, the ones that are living. We say our people, you know, go in that grave not knowing this truth. And they don't get a second chance. But now that we know the truth, we can get to praying for them. Because we saw the good in them that they did do. Go ahead.
9 or 10. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children who, when they had openly led around about the city, the babes hanging their breasts, and they cast them down headlong from the wall.
You know what they did to these babies? Now Israel's the only one that believes in circumcision. So they start killing the women. And we worried about us destroying the folks that believes this devil worship. We're judging ourselves for doing the Most High's law over in Deuteronomy 12 saying destroy this stuff. Because it's going to come back to haunt you. Not destroying it, it will come back to haunt you. You ain't going to be able to keep your Sabbaths. You ain't going to be able to circumcise your kids. If you do, all of these things above, you're going to be put to death. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And others had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day, secretly being discovered to Philip, where all heard together, because they made a science conscious to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
You hear that? You see, they was running in the caves. What we call this place?
The cave.
They was running in the caves to worship the Sabbath. Trying to keep this most holy day. So what's our problem as a nation of people? We don't know the truth. So we think Sunday worship is A-okay. God is good. And all the time. That's what we're conditioned to. But who's going to judge us? Let's go over to Peter. Isaac. 1 Peter chapter 4. Start in verse 1. Start in verse 1.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 1. For as much then as Christ hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin,
You see that? So, again, we say it brutally, let's chop your head off and put the mind of Christ on. Put Christ's head on your body. Think like Christ. This is what our forefathers and mothers did by running into caves, trying to keep the Sabbath and trying to do everything by the truth. Circumcising their children, even though they knew it was punishable by death. This is what you gotta, this is the type of attitude that you gotta have when dealing with this truth. I don't care what they say. As for me and my house, we are going to serve the Most High. We're going to do what this word says. So we got to have the mind of Christ. Verse 2.
That he no longer should live in the rest of his time in the flesh of the lust of men, but to the will of God.
So we got to come out of ourselves and stop doing everything that the men in this world does. Even if they do try to wrap it around Jesus. We got to know the difference. Go ahead.
For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles when we walked in lasciviousness,
right?
Lust, excess of wine, reveling, banqueting, and abominable idolatry.
That's what they do. They put them banquets in front of us, and we think when we go there, we're supposed to eat everything. No. You're supposed to do it in moderation. It doesn't matter if you pay $12 and you can eat the whole smorgasbord of food. You're not supposed to try to do it. We're not supposed to drink all the wine. You know, you can drink, but you're not supposed to be a gluttonous person about it. Drink in moderation. That's the commandment of Christ. Go ahead.
Wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. Who shall give account to them to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead?
Who's going to judge the quick and the dead? Who's ready to give their account? Christ is going to judge the quick and the dead. And so we got to be ready when he returns, and no man knows the day nor the hour. They thought they knew in the year 2000. They think they know something about this year. It's 400 years since we were set free. And the Most High is going to do this, that, and the third. No man knows. But that ain't for us to get lazy and get laxed. We got to be ready. Instant, in season and out of season. Let's go over to Acts from chapter 10. In verse 34. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 10, verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons.
Yeah, he's not thinking of you as just you. We were singing a song earlier that we was remembering. He thought I was worth saving. They think it's all about them. He's going to judge you the same way he's going to judge everybody. He's not a respecter of granny just because she's made it this many years. If she sins just like the 3-year-old, guess what? He gonna judge them all. And I should say the 23-year-old. He's gonna judge them all the same way. And his feelings ain't gonna get involved. Go ahead.
Verse 35. But in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him.
Now let's look at this verse, because people they might even bring this verse. In every nation. Well, where was Israel scattered?
In every nation.
To all nations. Okay? Of him that does what?
Feareth.
Last week's lesson. Right? Him that fear him and worketh what?
Righteousness.
What do we know righteousness to be? Do we know the verse? We used to get up and write it on the board at this point. Okay, that's close. 119.
142.
Yeah, I always get it back.
172.
172. For all thy commandments are righteousness. Right? So, but in every nation, him that feareth him worketh righteousness is accepted with him. Go ahead.
Verse 36. The word which God sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ. He is the Lord of all.
He is the Lord of all. Go ahead.
37. That word, I say, ye know, which was published throughout all Judea, and began from Galilee after the baptism which John preached. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and power, and with power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him.
All right, go ahead.
And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree.
So did they hang him on the cross? Right. No. It's the same thing. Wood comes from a tree. But they hung him on the cross. But they hung us the same way. Not necessarily like this, but like this from a tree. All right, go ahead.
Verse 40, him God raised up the third day and showed him openly.
That's the gospel. He rose on the third day. So there's no way, which we're going to get into in a minute, he could have went to sleep or died on Good Friday and woke up on the third day, which is Sunday morning. But yet we believe that Easter lie. Go ahead.
Verse 41, not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of God, even to us, who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead.
So he showed us himself for 40 days, well, to the apostles for 40 days, and they ate and drank with him. Go ahead.
And he commanded us to preach unto the people, and to testify that it is he which was ordained of God to be the judge of quick and dead.
So is that something we should think about telling people?
Yes.
Well, yes, in that context, but meaning in choice. Is that something we should think about, or are we commanded?
Commanded.
That's right. It says, and he commanded us to preach unto the people and testify that which he was ordained of the Most High to be the judge of the quick and the dead, which we just read back in Peter. Go ahead.
Verse 43, to him give all the prophets witness that through his name whosoever believeth in him shall receive remission of sin.
Through his power and authority. Whosoever believeth in him shall receive remission of sins. They'll get us caught up on the name doctrine, but he only gave one person this power and authority. Because, you know, in the Mexican language or Spanish Hispanic, Jesus is spelled the same way. We know it by the Paleo-Hebrew as Yahweh Shai. In the Greek, it was Jesus, where they get Jesus from. So we can't get up on the name. Which one of these people had the power and authority by the Most High to give remission of sin? And then what's his example? Not only did he walk the earth, not only did we see the miracles that he did, but he also hung from a what? Exactly. Go ahead.
Verse 44. While Peter yet spake these words, the Holy Ghost fell on all them which heard the word.
Because he's preaching the gospel. Go ahead.
And they of the circumcision which believed were astonished, as many as came with Peter, because that on the Gentiles also was poured out of the gift of the Holy Ghost.
Now, we're not talking about necessarily Gentiles as another nation of people, but when it puts circumcision in here, the southern kingdom was known as the circumcised. They kept the law, statutes, and commandments. The northern kingdom, they had a revelation of it. They didn't necessarily keep it, but they were starting to believe in Christ as well. So when Peter taught, he taught the southern kingdom, and then also the northern kingdom, which was spread about in Assyria and all those other different lands over there. They was also believing on Christ. Go ahead.
Verse 46. For they heard him speak with tongues.
Other languages. Go ahead.
And magnify God. Then answered Peter, Can any man forbid water that these should not be baptized, which have received the Holy Ghost as well as we?
So they received the Holy Ghost, and they still had to be what? Baptized. Is a part of the gospel. 48.
And he commanded them to be baptized in the name of the Lord, and prayed they him to tarry certain days.
Certain days, because some of them still had to be filled. So that's the gospel in its totality. So when we're preaching all of this type of stuff, are we preaching the gospel? You can't be. You can't get the gospel out of the Christmas doctrine. New Year's, when is Israel's New Year?
March.
Month of Abib. Right at the new moon. Jason, Sirach 33. Ecclesiasticus. Start in verse 7.
33.
Sirach 33, starting in verse 7. Why does one day excel another, when as all the light of every day of the year is of the sun?
So why is one day more special than the other? Is what this question. Every other day, whether it's so-called Christmas or whether it's what they call Thursday. What makes it different? Go ahead.
By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts.
So he altered seasons and feasts. Verse 9.
Some of them hath he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days.
Right. So if we go back to Leviticus 23, which days did he hallow? The Sabbath and his feast days, right? Those are. And then the rest of them are ordinary. Now again, did we read Christmas? Well, they used Halloween. Did we read that? Did we read birthdays? He named what the days were. Did we read Christ's birthday? What makes them sinister is what they're truly doing behind them. And what they're truly trying to cause us to believe. Now keep going, Jay. Let's go back to 1 Maccabees. Chapter 1 and go to verse 54.
First Maccabees chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 4. First Maccabees chapter 1, verses 4. Now the 15th day of the month,
Caslu.
in the 140 and 50 year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idols altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
So Caslu is in the cold months, which is what we may call December. But they set up the abomination of desolation, which we talked about earlier, has already happened. They got us thinking that the man of sin is going to go set himself up in the temple when they rebuild it, and that he is going to proclaim himself to be God, according to their understanding. But as we're reading, it's already happened. And it hasn't been anything to do with the man of sin. It has to do with them putting those idolatrous or abominable sacrifices on the altar. So that's already happened. Verse 55.
And burned incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burned them with fire.
So they burned our Bibles. You got to go to First Esdras chapter 2, and you'll read how we got all of our history back. For those that want to know, and we all should want to know, how we got our history back. And we'll go from there. Go ahead.
What you say go to?
To find out, it's First Esdras chapter 2. And you'll read how we ended up getting our history back. Because they burnt it all. Go ahead.
And wheresoever was found with any book of the Testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was they shall be put to death.
So you see, this was the law back then. This is the Greeks. They're trying to get us away from our truth. Go ahead.
Thus they did, they by their authority unto the Israelites every month to as many as were found in the city. Till the 25th day of the month they did sacrifices upon the idol altars, which was upon the altar of God.
Now this was in Caslu, which was in what we call December, on the 25th of the month. What is that supposed to be? So-called Christmas. What did it say they were doing? Sacrificing upon the idol altar. They was putting the pig's blood on the altar on Christmas Day. This is what they was really doing. This is what it's really about. Nothing to do with Christ. Keep going.
60. At which time, according to the commandments, they put to death certain women that they had caused children to be circumcised.
That's also what they did on Christmas Day. Killing those folks that was keeping the law. Go ahead.
And they hanged the infants about their neck, and rifled their houses, and sued them that had circumcised.
Man, poor little Lyric wouldn't have made it. Because I hopefully would have been keeping the law. And they was hanging the infants from trees. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I wouldn't have made it either. This is the families, though. the non-circumcised, not to be telling his business, but guess what? His mama wouldn't have made it either. Go ahead.
62. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
See, no matter what the law said, they still wasn't going to do it. By no means necessary are they going to do anything that sacrifice to idols. And this is where the turkey comes in. Not the turkey, but the turkey on a particular day, which is what they call what? Thanksgiving. It's sacrifice unto idols. It's a sacrificial meal. So if you take the turkey off of that Thursday and you still going to have this meal on the 5th of December, are you not doing the same thing? We're not going to do it on Thanksgiving Day. We're going to still have Thanksgiving meal on the 5th of December. No. You're still doing the same thing. Now, if you decide some turkey and dressing sounds good tomorrow, you know why you're not thinking about it? But when you get around that so-called season, and you just want that turkey, or even with the eggnog, and they only sell it during that season. You better learn how to make your own eggnog. Because you're still participating in so-called Jesus being the reason for the season, and we just read the reason for this season. Go ahead.
63. Wherefore they choose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meat, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they die.
So that has to be our attitude. Like I said, we fear that grave. I'm not saying I want anybody to die, but we got to have that attitude. That if there's nothing else we can do about it, I ain't going to eat that pork chop. I don't care what they say. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to, Eleazar wouldn't even pretend. He wouldn't even pretend that it was pork when they said, we'll feed you chicken. Just act like it's pork. He's like, no, I ain't doing it. Verse 64.
And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
There was great wrath upon Israel. Now that's what they were doing on the 25th of the month. That was the reason for the season. Isaac, Jeremiah chapter 10. Now we just read. What they were doing. On the 25th of December. Go ahead. Start in verse 1.
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
They worship in signs of heaven. When you get into signs of heaven, what do they match our birthdays up to? Zodiac signs. And where do they get them zodiac signs from? The Greeks' philosophy, but the heavens. The stars, the constellations, and all of that. But it says, learn not the way of the heathens. Go ahead.
For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that move it not, that it move not. They are upright as the palm trees, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
They can't do wood, good, because they're made out of wood and stone. But what is this whole description of? A Christmas tree. And this is what they get us all about. They're going to have a national tree. They're going to unveil it. That's what they traditions do. Now they just moved to unveiling everything. You got the unveiling of the sex of the baby party. If we blow the balloon and blue powder pops out, it's a boy. Of course, if it's pink, it's a girl. And if you're one of them weird couples, it's both. We're not going to genderize our babies and all of this foolishness where we are now. We have all these unveiling. This is the custom of the heathens. So they cut it down a tree in the forest, and then they deck it with silver and gold. And don't say we didn't do it, because we had them little confetti strips of gold and silver, and we went around the tree and spiraled all the way up. Then we had those gold and silver balls that we hung on them. This is what the heathens do. And if you start studying them gold and silver balls, you'll see it's about something else. Drop down to verse 8.
But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities.
Their doctrine is of vanities. This is not of the truth, Israel. That's why we don't do it. And what they were really doing was profaning your temple back in the day on the 25th. And now they done told you it's all about your Savior. And we bought the lie. Hook, line, and sinker. Matthew, Ronald, chapter 12. Truly Hellidays when you know the truth, right? Matthew chapter 12, verse 38. Now that was Christmas. Now we're about to blow up another one. And we talked about it briefly earlier. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 38.
Yep.
Then certain of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we will see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah.
Okay, but the sign of the prophet Jonah, he's going to get into it, but the wicked in generation, they got us always looking for a sign. Coincidences in life. It must be that God wants me to do this because I did that, or I see this, I was supposed to be married to you because both of our birthdays is in the same month, on the same day, and we was born in the same hour. We come up with all of that kind of stuff, seeking a sign on which way we should do things and which way we should not, instead of just reading the scriptures. But he said, I'm going to give them a sign. It's going to be the prophet Jonas. Go ahead.
Verse 40. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth.
Now let's go to Jonah, chapter 1. Keep going.
Jonah?
Yep. Chapter 1 and verse 17. He said he's going to be in the belly of the whale, like Jonah, 3 nights and 3 days. 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale. It's after Obadiah and between Micah.
Jonah what?
Chapter 1,
Verse 7.
verse 17. Go ahead.
Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights.
Okay, so this is what happened. This is Christ's sign to us. Keep going. Go to Daniel. Back to Daniel. So he's only going to be in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. Daniel chapter 9. We're going to put this whole thing together. And verse 25. So he's in the belly of the whale, or he's in the heart of the grave. Of course, it's talking about Christ. 3 days and 3 nights.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Now therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem into the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in turbulent times.
26.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. Shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city of the sanctuary, and the end therefore shall be with the flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined.
27.
And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause a sacrifice and the oblation to cease.
So, if he died, well, do we agree that the Messiah is Christ? Okay, so when does the world say he died?
Oh, world. God.
What day does he say No, what day does he say he died on? What day did Christ die on? Huh?
Friday.
Right, they say Good Friday, right? They call it good at that. Good Friday, right? Now count. Now how long is he supposed to be in the belly of the whale? Or in the heart, in the grave? Okay, so count 3 days and 3 nights. And what day do you get from Friday? Monday. You get Monday. When do they celebrate? Sunday. Sunday when? Sunday morning. Right? Sunrise. Exactly. They do all of that then. Now, it says here in this scripture, verse 27, that he died when? Read it again for us, Ronald.
Verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week.
Right?
And in the midst of the week, he shall call the sacrifice and the oblation to cease.
So what do we call the what do we call the midst of the week or the middle of the week? Wednesday. Count 3 days and 3 nights from there. Saturday, right? So he died in the midst of the week, which probably is about what they call Wednesday. And then he got up on what we call the what? The Sabbath days, if the scriptures are true, and he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. So Once again, how can we celebrate Easter? It doesn't line up with Scripture. Nowhere. Now let's go to Matthew 28. Keep going on this thought, Ronald. Matthew 28, start verse 1.
Matthew
28 and verse 1.
Matthew 28, verse 1. And in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and Mary and the other Mary to see the
Sepulchre.
And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment was white as snow. And for fear of him, the keeper did shake, and became a dead man. And the angel answered and said unto the woman, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, he is risen, as he said.
So when did she get there?
Eve on the Sabbath.
Okay, you can do it that way, but if it's at even, then is it the Sabbath?
Yes.
Because tonight at even, what is that? It's the first day, right? So the Sabbath is over. So when did she show up? She at the end of, well, it says, at the end of the Sabbath, beginning to dawn towards the first day, is when she showed up. So was she at the graveyard of Jesus' grave on the Sabbath day? No. Not at all. She didn't wait. She waited until afterwards, because now we just read that he died in the midst of the week. And the angel dropped down here in verse 6. He says he is not here. Now she got there at the dawn of the first day, and he's already gone. So when did Christ get up?
Saturday evening.
Well, it don't have to necessarily be the evening, but when did he get up? He got up on what day?
On the Sabbath.
On the Sabbath day. This is when Christ got up. He got up on his Sabbath. So, not only is she keeping the Sabbath and not showing up until the first day of the week, because I'm sure she wanted to get down there and anoint the body, but they wasn't doing no type of work, and they were keeping the Sabbath on the Sabbath. Great earthquake. The angel comes down, tells him he's not here. He is risen. Keep going. Verse 7.
Verse 7. And go quickly and tell the disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you to Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, All hail. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him.
So they came to worship the Most High because he had risen. Now, they might go try to use that scripture and say that's why they keep Sunday church. But that was just the day, that wasn't even the day he got up. That was just the day that Mary went looking for him, and then he was revealed to them that he had risen, and they came and worshipped him on the first day. Not have convocation, but he had risen. That was it. That doesn't mean have church. So that's what they've turned it into. We're going to worship him because he got up, and then that's when he revealed himself, and they worshipped him on, and it would happen to be the first day of the week. So they made a doctrine out of it. Isaac, John 4 and 24. Because there wasn't no need to keep the Sabbath if that was the case. Or if nothing else at all, they should be doing both. And they're not keeping no Sabbath day. What does it say? John 4 and 24.
God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
We have to worship him in spirit and in truth. The truth according to the scriptures. It's told us not to do the vain holidays of the heathens. We just went through Easter and showed you how it doesn't line up with scripture. So they're not worshiping him in spirit and in truth. Keep going. Go to Job. Isaac. Job chapter 3. Start in verse 1. We got a couple more places. Well, a couple more places. John chapter 3, verse 1. Go ahead. Job, brother.
After this opened Job his mouth, and cursed his day. And Job spake, and said, Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was set. There is a man child conceived.
So what did Job do? What day did he curse?
The day he was born.
The day he was born. He wasn't going to be caught lifting up his so-called birthday. So, St. Patrick's Day is supposedly my so-called birthday. I'm not lifting it up. This is our example. We're going to keep getting more examples here about these birthdays. But it says that he cursed his day. Is that what we read? We don't want to agree now. Keep going. Verse 4.
Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it.
Who has that attitude on their birthday? I know. Can't raise our hands, I know. Because we want to be lifted up. We want to be thought of. That's the way we were trained. But what did Jeremiah chapter 10? Learn none of the ways of the heathens. And we're going to prove that this is heathen mythology or truth. Their truth. Now go back to chapter 1. Job chapter 1. Start in verse 1.
There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil.
So he didn't deal with evil, right? So if he called his birthday darkness, and he's an upright and perfect man, what should be our example? Israel. Huh?
That should be our example.
That should be our example. We're not lifting up our birthday, secretly celebrating it, trying to bring some type of attention to it in any type of way. It's supposed to be a day of darkness. Nobody should ever know. This is how the world gets us into idolatry. They celebrate your birthday. They singing songs at Texas Roadhouse. happy birthday, happy birthday, and we just sit up there all happy about it, get a free entree, and the world's great. But they lead us into idolatry. And then they tell you, this is the day that God gave me life. Verse 2.
And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500
she-asses.
And a very great household. So a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east.
Keep going.
And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them.
So what do we want to do on our birthdays? Get all these people together, right? And we want to celebrate me. If I don't know if y'all saw the Braxtons, but Tamar acted a damn fool on her birthday because somebody else got a proposal. And it was supposed to be all about her. Did she not? She had a tantrum. This is supposed to be, and her sister's birthday was 2 days later. This is how we've been conditioned to act. Hey, it's my birthday. Come on over. What you gonna do for me? You didn't plan nothing for me? Oh, my wife's the greatest. She threw me a surprise birthday party. Whatever. What verse we in? Read verse 5.
And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually.
So he had to go repent for these kids. And ask the Most High to forgive these kids. And they had to get it from something. Now, Job, he's perfect and upright. There's no way he was teaching them about birthdays. So where'd they get it? The world. They used to have a whole show, My Sweet 16. And these kids they're planning they big old 16 celebration and all of this foolishness. And then they look at you if you tell them that's of the devil. Like you being evil. But this goes along with these holidays. Same thing. It's all the same thing. You get together with family. And, somehow you get gifts.
Get worship from that.
Yeah, you get worshipped. And we think nothing's wrong with it. It's my birthday. Drop down to verse 18.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell you.
See? Most High got rid of them kids. Oh, evil kids. And I want to listen to the truth. So he's more merciful than he used to be. But guess what? He's long suffering too. And so if you want to keep doing what you want to do, especially when it comes to like birthdays. Here's your example. You'll be in the grave, not just the grave, but in the lake of fire behind celebrating your birthday. And you'll realize then it was more important to just breathe again and continue on with life eternally than it was to lift your own self up. And if you don't believe it now, it's just because you're a non-believer. Now, where did they get this from? Keep going, Isaac. Genesis chapter 40. Folks think you just be making up stuff. You mean I can't celebrate my birthday? It was the day I was born. It was the day that God gave me life. He blessed me to see another year. He got to be in it. Nah, he's just hoping you wake up and repent. Verse 20.
And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants.
So he calling everybody together. But was Pharaoh an Israelite king? Not at all. Matter of fact, Most High was telling him to let his people go so they can do what out in the wilderness? Worship him. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 22. Keep going, Isaac.
What?
2 Kings chapter 22. So Pharaoh wanted to get his birthday lifted up. We're not supposed to learn none of the customs of Egypt. Chapter 22. In verse 1 and 2. Go ahead.
Second Kings chapter 22, verse 1 and 2. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedediah, the daughter of Adadiah of Boskath. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in all the ways of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. So
he's a king, right? And he's walking according to his father David, which was king of who? Of Israel, right? So this is a king that walks upright. Let's see what he did. Go to chapter 23. Next chapter over, starting verse 1. Go ahead.
And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests of the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord.
All righty, so he's reading out of the books of the covenant. Go ahead.
And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and keep his commandments and his testimonies and statutes with all their heart and all their soul, to perform the words of the covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah and the priests Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven, and he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel.
So is he keeping that commandment out of 22 to burn all of that stuff and destroy it? Go ahead.
And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the hosts of heaven.
So all those people that celebrate their birthdays, if you go look at your birthdays again, it's tied to astrology. Reading your horoscopes. All of that's tied in together. And he got rid of all those people, all them birthday worshipers. Jeremiah, Ronald, chapter 44. Jeremiah chapter 44, start at verse 15.
Jeremiah chapter 44:15.
Mm-hmm.
And all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense to other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Lord, we will not hearken unto thee.
Yeah, they wouldn't listen to the words. We're trying to tell you right now that these birthdays are illegal in this truth. But somebody still is going to find a way to lift up their day and be stubborn. Still going to do it. I promise you. Go ahead.
Verse 17. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, and our princes, in the cities of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. They don't see no evil in the things that they're doing. But look what they're doing to the Queen of Heaven.
Verse 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine. And when we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven, and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her, and pour out drink offerings to her?
That's what your birthday cake is all about. Worshiping the Queen of Heaven. You go research the Queen of Heaven, that's supposedly Satan's wife. We don't have queens in Israel. We have wives of kings, but there was no queens. We had a wicked queen. Jehoshaphat was the king of Israel, and she was considered, Jezebel was the queen. But when we make those birthday cakes, this is all to the Queen of Heaven. And we got a lesson on that we'll do another day, about who she is and what she was about. But that's where your birthday cakes come from. So good luck making wishes. Counting up all your candles. 50 years old, got 50 candles on the cake. And making a wish unto the Queen of Heaven, who can do nothing for your soul.
Isn't that also connected to Easter?
Yeah. Asterisk, yep. Yep.
Yeah. With all the cakes that people used to make for Easter as well.
Verse 19.
And when we burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her, and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men?
So they was going to keep doing what they do, no matter what. Whether they man was there or not, we going to celebrate our birthday. So let's conclude 1 Thessalonians. Well, it's not the conclusion scripture, but the one right before it. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 22. Go ahead.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 22. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong one though. Chapter 5, verse. Second. That's the right scripture. Abstain from all appearance of evil. What the Most High, what's against the Most High's word is evil. So if you're caught celebrating any of this stuff on the board, to include your own birthday, you're participating in evil. No matter how we want to twist it to make it seem okay, this is what the Most High says is evil. Job cursed his day and said it should be a day of darkness. So abstain from everything that appears to be evil. Verse 23.
And the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray, God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless until the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ.
That is our praises. That is our prayer for all of us. That we abstain from evil, from the appearance of evil. We don't even want to look like we're doing these abominable things until Christ comes back. Not that we're going to do it then, but we will be found guiltless before Him. Isaac get Revelations 22 and 7, rather 2 and 7. Go ahead.
Galatians chapter 2, verse 27.
7. Chapter 2, verse 7.
Okay. Chapter 2, verse 7. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is the midst of the paradise of God.
So those that have an ear, I hope you've heard what Christ is saying to us in these so-called holidays that the world celebrate, which are really Hellidays, to include our so-called birthdays. This is idolatry. There will be no other God before him. And we got to understand how serious he is. So that is Hellidays.